أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله إن الصلاة ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين سبوح قدوس رب الملائكة وروح اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته اللهم صل وسلم على شفيع المشفع خير الخلق الله وعلى الأنبياء والمرسلين وآلهم وصحبهم أهل الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to One Verse Per Day. We ask Allah to make us the people of the Quran in speech and in action. May Allah help us to action out the things that we say and the things that we listen to, inshallah. Moving forward today, inshallah, we'll be going to Surah Al-Luqman, Quran chapter 31, verse 31, mashallah, chapter 31, verse 31. And I try to repeat this chapter and verses so that each one of us can also go back to review and have more understanding, inshallah. Bada isti'aza, Allah is saying, Alam tara anna al-fulka tajri fil bahri bi ni'matillah ليريكم من آياته إن في ذلك لآيات لكل صبار شكور صدق الله العظيم. This verse is a beautiful description of patience, beautiful patience. In fact, Allah is giving us an example in parable, giving us an explicitness of how His power contained in the sailing of the sea, how His power dominates all the entire world and the things around us. Allah give us an example of how the ship sailed through the sea. Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ, and for us as well, that do you not see how the ship sailed through the sea bi ni'matillah, by the mercy and the favor of Allah. And He said, لِيُرِيَكُم مِّنْ آيَاتِهِ, so that He can show you of His signs. What does this mean to us? You see, when the ship sails through, it sails with patience. It goes bit by bit, bit by bit, and eventually what happens? It gets to its destination. So the lesson there for us is, Allah is telling you and I that if we are patient, with patience, we will get to our final destination. Just like the ship is patient, you and I should also embrace patience and know that our life is in phases, and with patience you will eventually get to your destination where Allah has written for you to get to. You will get to your goals and everything will work out eventually by Allah's time. Everything will work out in your favor. Sometimes we were young, we were babies, we become infants, we become a child, we become an adult, we become old. This is the phases of life, and everything happens with patience. It's not one day that you were born and you grow up to become an adult. Some days you were poor, and sometimes Allah bless you with wealth. Sometimes you don't have, you weren't going to school, you don't have education. Allah gave you the opportunity to go to school. You don't have a job at some point, now you have a job. You don't have a wife, Allah gave you a wife. You don't have a husband, Allah gave you a husband. You don't have kids at some point, now you have kids. This is to tell us that everything in life works in phases, and all of this surface with what? With patience. So Allah now said, Inna fi dhalika, in this parable that we have given you, in this illustration and example that we have given to you, la ayatin li kulli sabbarin shakur. It is a sign for every servant of us that are patient and they are grateful. What does this mean? It is a sign for you, if you are a servant, that you are patient in times of adversity and you are thankful in times of goodness. When Allah do bestow His favor upon you, you thank Allah in times of easiness, and in times of hardship you are patient, because sometimes the ship also face difficulty when he's on this journey, when he's sailing through his destination. But each of those phases is patient, because if it's not patient, it's not going to get to his destination. Allah wants us to look at how magnificent He is. Look at how big the ship is, and it sails through on the sea with easiness. It doesn't sink. Allahu Akbar. This is by the permission of Allah. If you and I, I weigh less than 150 pounds, for example, if I was thrown into the sea, I'm going to drown. The ship is more heavier in size and in shape, in quantity than human being, and it still sails through successfully. It doesn't sink. This is by the mercy of Allah. Allah is giving us a description of his mighty and his capability, in fact, for us to understand that if he can subject the sea for the ship to sail, he will subject for you all your obstacles, and the things that you think would not come true in your favor. Allah will subject them for you, and you would eventually become triumphant. Allah wants you to be patient. He wants us to be patient and be thankful, to believe in his mighty and his power. And if we believe just like the ship, you will eventually sail through, and you will get to your destination. You get to your journey. You become successful, inshallah. Believe in Allah and know that Allah is sufficient for us. Let us leave our fears to Allah, and by the promise of Allah, if we are patient and we are thankful, Allah will grant us triumphant, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.